Product launch formula or sphere of influence, which one should you get, or should you get them at all? That's what we're covering in this video, in this no BS comparison of the two. Now, the reason I say it's no BS, because there are so many reviews out there that go, glowing and gushing, and this is the best ever, and that's not what I'm doing here. This is a proper review, proper comparison. I'm not going to go into all the details, but instead I'm showing you whom it's for and whom it's not for, and there are a lot of people whom it's not for. So let's dive straight in and basically look at whom it's not for. Basically anyone who's wasting their time if they were to buy one of these products. And I do understand the appeal. Both of them promise that they're going to make you lots of money. They're going to get you lots of buyers. As if by magic, suddenly there's lots of conversion going on. And there are 3 cases where I would say you are wasting your time. Namely, if you have no product, and there's a little bit of a caveat, but let's go into that in a minute. If you have no product, whether it's your own or someone else's product you want to sell, then there's absolutely no need for these here. Also, if you have no idea, if you're looking at this from the perspective, there's a bit of a missing piece here, I don't know what I'm doing, I just want to do something online and look, product launch formula promises, I don't need a list, I don't need a product, all of this will come out of nowhere. The answer is no, this is not for you. There's no need for this, you better off doing something else. And the last one is if you have no experience, in the sense of no experience marketing, this is all make-believe for you, you don't actually know what it means to build a list or have conversions, etc. Again, there is no need for this. Again, I do understand and appreciate the appeal because I've been there. I bought Product Launch Formula, and this is not a criticism of Product Launch Formula. It goes how effective these mechanisms are. I bought it because I thought, okay, I don't have anything, but as if by magic, stuff is going to happen. So the big insight here is, this is not magic. You may think it is magic, but it is not magic. If you use this, if you use either Product Launch Formula or the sphere of influence to build an existing business, or to build at least on a very, very solid idea for a product, then they are extremely powerful. But if it is just like, I don't know where to get started, this is not for you. So I just mentioned extremely powerful, and I will show you why it's so powerful. So if I had to put it into 2 categories, I would say Product Launch Formula is basically the influence of this world. It's all about the hardwire. No, it's not all. There is a lot of the original concept of Product Launch Formula is based on the idea of using hardwired responses like urgency and scarcity and reciprocity and social proof, etc., which also is the criticism of a lot of people. They say, well, Product Launch Formula is all about exploiting these hardwired responses. The answer is no, it's not. That is a misconception about Product Launch Formula. However, you can use both of these tools, Product Launch Formula and Sphere of Influence, in an evil way. You can totally use it as a very exploitative tool. In my opinion, if you're doing that, you're shortchanging yourself and your clients, because there's a lot more to Product Launch Formula, and I'll show you in a second what that is. The other one, then, Sphere of Influence, would be more like this here, pre-persuasion. I don't know if I can get this into focus. There we go, we are in focus, also by Cialdini. But this is more about the sort of subtle underlying needs people have. They need to be answered before they can make a purchasing decision. By the way, that too is hardwired. There is no good or bad here. It's not like, one is better than the other. There are different applications, as we will see in a minute. Before I go on though, the key thing here is, if you have none of these things, no product, no idea, no experience, then please take the money you would be otherwise investing in one of these products, and both not cheap, and get yourself a solid first-hand experience of marketing. Go out and buy a bit of traffic. Get someone else to help you with setting up your first squeeze page, and get that first-hand experience, what it means to trying to figure out what people want and what they're willing to give an email address for. If you want some help, leave a comment down below and I'll help you out with that. So let's look at the different applications where this is my personal experience, my personal perspective, my personal background, also teaching and coaching this, of where these 2 different approaches work best. In my opinion, affiliate marketing is not the strength of product launch formula, but it is an absolutely outstandingly good application for sphere of influence. And the reason I'm saying that is because, in a nutshell, product launch formula is more event-based. It's, there's a lot of gathering, there's social proof, there's momentum. And although, of course, you can use this in affiliate marketing, and people have done this in the past successfully, and they're still doing it, of course, affiliate marketing for most people out there is marketing where they go, well, I have, for example, a review site, and then traffic comes through this review site, and either they like it or they don't, and then they buy through that link. Or this video here, full disclosure, there are my links down below or around this video. And if you choose to use those links, I very much appreciate that. But you don't have to. And as you can see, this is not an event. This is a video. It's there for you. You can go and watch this. So the real strength here is not product launch formula, but the pre-selling of the sphere of influence. That's kind of in a summary of what the sphere of influence is about. And in affiliate marketing, you typically do pre-selling. Now, in terms of list building, I would say product launch formula, yes and no, or no and yes, because once again, list building typically is not an event. However, if you manage to get an event together, whether you organize a telesummit or you get lots of JV partners to mail for you, then it is fantastic for list building. Whereas the sphere of influence is generally very, very good because you pre-sell people on the idea of signing up to your list. In terms of e-commerce and physical goods, full disclosure, I'm not doing this. I don't have personal experience. I have second-hand experience through clients of mine. And here, once again, if you have an existing tribe who want to, buy more stuff from you, I mean, think Apple. Every time they bring out a new iPhone, it's an event. And therefore, that's very, very powerful. But in general, for most of us, e-commerce, when you think e-commerce, you're thinking drop shipping, you're thinking fulfillment through or by Amazon, and that is not event-based. So, yes and no. If you're doing the typical route, then the answer is no. And the same goes for the sphere of influence. Typically, e-commerce, a lot of e-commerce is an impulse purchase, and there is no lengthy pre-selling cycle. There's also no event. So both are not really, the weapon of choice if you want to do e-commerce. Info products, absolutely. I mean, this is where product launch formula shines. And sphere of influence takes a very different approach. It's, one is, here is my hardwired response, let's go for it. And here's the hardwired response, let me think about it, and then go for it. I had the question from subscribers about ebooks and Amazon books. So ebooks, if it's along this lines of info product, the answer is yes. If it's an Amazon book, I think the same comments as for e-commerce applies. If you have a tribe and they go to this and there's a date where this all happens, fantastic, then it's great. Otherwise, it's not an event and therefore it's not the go-to thing. And the same kind of applies to the sphere of influence, because just as with the e-com products, it's not necessarily an impulse purchase, but it's not a long, drawn-out, considered purchasing decision. It's something where you go, yes, I like it or I don't. So there is not usually, lots of reading required before you decide to buy a book. Email marketing, which is what I do personally, I would say product launch formula, the answer is no. And I'm looking at this from the perspective of someone saying, what do I actually write in my emails? In the sense of, I've built a list, I have a tribe, and I need to figure out what to write to them. What is of value? And product launch formula is not built for that, whereas sphere of influence is built for that. It's all about figuring out what people want to hear next and need to hear next so they can make a purchasing decision. So there you go. That's the summary of where and how to apply these two. So the question then is, is it PLF or is it sphere of influence, or should you be using both? So here's my condensed answer. Obviously, I can't cover it all, but the big distinction here is that if you have an event or the ability to create an event, and this is the key thing, the ability to an event means you have a tribe, or you can very quickly generate enough traffic, either by paying for it or you getting other people to mail for you. If that is the case, then product launch formula is extremely powerful. And I'm saying it's extremely powerful because it is based on, hardwired principles. Whereas if you have something where pre-selling is required, either because you don't have the ability to create a big event, or you have a lengthy sales cycle, or generally you just want to do something small scale and on an ongoing basis, then sphere of influence certainly shines. Now, having said all of this here, one or the other, is it better or not? I'd like to point out that both the principles of both of these things go beyond the hardwired principles, or the use of those, or as some people say, the exploiting of these hardwired principles. Both of these aim at doing two things, namely building businesses whilst figuring out what really makes your tribe tick, in the sense of how do I need to present my message to that particular tribe so they buy my things. So don't be fooled or mistaken or led to believe that it's only about these particular triggers here. There is much more to both product launch formula and sphere of influence. I'm just highlighting the underlying principles when it comes to sales psychology and the approaches taken by these two products. Now, one more question I got from my list was, well, what about if I want to do evergreen promotions? And the answer is, you can kind of see that if you can emulate something that it looks like an event, then of course product launch formula works just as well as it does for a normal promotion or event, whereas a sphere of influence works on an ongoing basis, so both are kind of there. So the question is, what's in the box? And although I do have both, I'm not going to run you through it, because I think the essence of this is more important, and that is, both are substantial products. The big difference, in a way, is that product launch formula is a video-based course with exercises, whereas sphere of influence is more text-based with exercises and added videos. So that's kind of what's in there. But the big takeaway is, what's in the box is, as I said before, there's no magic solution in here. There are step-by-step guides on what to do, but then you need to actually go out and do. Now, the big difference, the fundamental difference, is what kind of information is presented there, the step-by-stepness of this. And in that sense, product launch formula is more like a blueprint. It's a tactical thing you can go and fill in and go and actually do. I'm saying that because, having used both, I can tell you that product launch formula requires less experience than sphere of influence. If you are completely new to marketing, or like I said before, you're relatively new, you've been around the block a couple of times, you have a product, you have an idea for a product, you already have insights into what your tribe wants, then product launch formula is certainly a better starting point than sphere of influence, because sphere of influence is more of a strategy. I know Andre is going to kick me when he sees this. It's not literally a strategy, but it's much more at a strategic level. There is a lot of information that is of the kind, you could be doing this with hints on how to do it, but you need to actually go out and figure out yourself how to then go and implement it. That does not mean that sphere of influence is completely without guidance, or there are even step-by-step exercises, but it is certainly at a higher level, more strategic level than product launch formula. So if you're relatively new and unsure how these things work, product launch formula is a better bet for you. Whereas if you're advanced and you really want to take things to the next level, sphere of influence is more your cup of tea. So, which one is right for you? And we're kind of coming to the conclusion here. Well, product launch formula or sphere of influence, well, as I said before, it's whether the main distinction is, are you doing things that are event-based, or are you more sort of building out pre-sales funnels? Both of these require a lot of work, don't get me wrong here. The event-based thing, it's not like, oh, I'll quickly put together a launch and then everything's hunky-dory. It's not. That is a lot of work. However, having said that, if you look at the product launch blueprint, for example, Jeff shows you that there are different types of launches, and the one I always recommend is starting with a seed launch, where you figure out how to do this thing, how to deliver content, etc. Then do an internal launch whilst you build your tribe, and only later on do the big JV style launches. It's kind of counterintuitive, because everyone sees big event style launches. These are the ones you visibly see, and as a result everyone thinks, well, that's what launches are. Not at all. I mean, that's part of the whole launch process, but the seed launch and the internal launch comes before all of that, and they're typically not visible to the outside. The pre-selling is my personal favorite. And that's only a very personal opinion because I can apply it in so many different ways. If you do a video, for example, here I could and can apply this. When you write email sequences, you suddenly go, oh yes, I can do this pre-selling. And I'm not saying pre-selling in an exploitative way. It's actually in a helpful way because you're addressing the fundamental questions people have in their minds. And if those questions are not answered, then nothing's going to happen. Which also brings me to the or in between the PLF and the SOI. Those two things together are extremely powerful. There are a lot of elements in Sphere of Influence which are not covered in Product Launch Formula. And if you are in a position to put together big events, then absolutely the stuff, the content you find in Sphere of Influence is very, very powerful for your events, and vice versa. If you want to start adding event-style elements to your pre-selling, you now can if you use both. So, like I said before, Product Launch Formula is more a step-by-step tactical thing for people who are unsure how to deploy things, whereas the Sphere of Influence has a little bit more of a, not DIY, but figure it out yourself element to it. And then the last one is that if you're a total newbie, then don't do any of these and basically do spend the dollars you would be spending on this on actual physical going out, buying some traffic to a landing page and figure out what happens. Now, the newbie also applies to a second thing, and that is if you are completely unsure what your target audience wants, you absolutely have no idea and you don't have a target audience, then I would say both of these would lead to overwhelm, because both Product Launch Formula and Sphere of Influence are based on the assumption that you have a fair idea what people want. Okay? If you want some guidance on that, send me a personal message and I'll hook you up with the guide I've got. There is a fundamental principle of how to very quickly figure this out with a few bucks of paid traffic, and that'll serve extremely well before using Product Launch Formula or Sphere of Influence. So there you go. That's it. That's it from me. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below. I'm more than happy to help out. I have both products. I can compare them. I have experience with both of these. Then if you have any other things you'd like me to compare or look at, again, let me know and I'm more than happy to help out. And of course, if you like this, I'd appreciate a shout out or a share or a thumbs up or whatever you'd like to click. Alright, cheers. Bye.